Morning, folks. Thursday today, huh? All right. Hopefully you had a good Wellness Wednesday. Hopefully you were able to catch up on stuff that you needed to catch up on and also be able to get rest and recharge a little bit here, so to speak, okay? Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about concave lenses, which are also called diverging lenses. You do got a quiz tomorrow. That's going to be on concave and convex lenses. So you're going to have drawings and then just some general information like uses, what separates them or makes them different. You don't have to know any of these specifics like with the convex, if it's inside one of the focal points, what it does, or if it's inside 2F or anything like that. Do not worry about that stuff. All right. Today after lecture, you also see some homework that we have that will help you to understand where and how we're going to draw stuff. Okay. All right. Yesterday, just to clean up a couple things. All right. For the vast majority of us, our drawings look really, really fabulous. There were a few things, a few areas where some people got a little bit out of shape and out of the kind of norm of what we needed them to do. So what that means is, let me just show you what this is. Okay, so we've got the principal axis, that's the dashed line. That becomes extremely crucial for us, right? When we talk about a principal axis, what we're going to see is, and I know I spelled it wrong, right? That's the person who runs our building as a principal. Principal, LE, is what we're looking at here, right? That's the base of where we're starting from, okay? So also understand, you only need to draw two of those lines. Once you get where that image is formed or where those lines cross, then you're in a good shape. And that'll become helpful for us when we do concave lenses, all right? So first one, parallel through, all right? I know I'm a little bit high off of Brian, but that's okay, all right? So parallel right to the middle. And now once I have the middle, now I have to go through the back focal point, okay? For the most part, we did phenomenal with that one. You did really, really good with that first one, okay? The second one, through the middle of the lens, all right? So this was the one that some of us struggled, and I don't know if it was just because of the way that the Google Doc worked or whatnot. When we were together, we would have rulers, and it'd probably be a lot easier in all honesty, all right? So through the middle, and then it just continues on path, okay? Now, immediately, hopefully you're starting to recognize something. All right, the one thing I want you to recognize here is that what we have, let me see if I can get my highlighter going here, is right in this area down here, okay, we've got a cross. We've got a section where all of a sudden we're going to have something joining up something neat, right? Because those two lines are crossing there. So in reality, I could stop at this point. All right, I'm not going to, just because I'm going to employ that third rule. Third rule, straight through, right to the middle. Okay, so now be aware. I'm going through that front focal point, and now I'm hitting the middle of the lens. All right, some of us, what we wanted to do now was we wanted to draw this back and up this way. All right, remember, there has to be a parallel component. In two of these three rules, what we have is we have a parallel component to the rule. All right, so what we're going to see is this thing then shoots out parallel. All right, now if yours don't meet perfectly, like mine often do as well, all right, then what we have to be able to say is it's about in that area there. It's not going to be pristinely focused on that one spot, but it's kind of in that same vicinity there. All right, so we ask what all these lines then mean. Well, all of those lines on the back end of this mean that's where the image is going to form. Because that's where the image is going to form, what we see is we see an inverted Brian. All right. So when the lens in our eyeball takes that image from outside or from wherever we're looking at, it's actually going to be flipped onto the back of our eyelid, on our eyeball, on our retina. Right? Our brain is then able to unflip that and tell us which direction actually is working up and which direction is working down. Okay. This one, notice we have to have his feet touching the principal axis, and his head is going to be all the way down to kind of that point where they meet up. All right. Just be aware of that. That is one issue that some of us had was when we drew this, we just said, oh, all right, well, it's just kind of here and down. It's not the full size of Brian, so to speak. Okay. Otherwise, like I said, you folks did a really, really nice job with that one. Okay. All right. Onward then. Diverging or concave. All right. Diverging or concave. We've already talked about the converging or the convex, right? What that means is for our convex, these things are going to bend to a specific focal point behind. All right. A diverging lens or concave lens is going to have a focal point that we use in the front of it more than anything else. And what happens is that if we see these parallel light rays, right? Let me go back, sorry. Then they're going to spread away and get wider and farther apart, okay? Nearsightedness is where the lens in your eye starts to focus the light too early before it hits the back. This was my problem, right? As a kid growing up, I could see stuff really close and it was easy to see, right? So I could read at night or I could look at night without my glasses or without my contacts in. But as soon as I had to start looking far away, man, the squints happened hard, right? So then what happened is I went and got glasses. So what they recognized is that I had this nearsightedness. So I needed the light to be spread out a little bit. Those of you who've ever been to the optometrist and they go 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6, 7 or 8, you know the joy/pain of running through this thing, right? They were trying to find the right diverging lens for me so that I could see near and I could also still see really, really far away, right? So what it does is it basically spreads it out and adjusts it, all right? If you ever have your old glasses, those of you who wear them, and you have your glasses that you haven't updated in a while, if your eyes have changed, then you notice that that far distance can be really, really tricky to see, right? So that's what a diverging lens works for us. It allows it to spread it so that our lens is still able to be okay for us. Okay, so image formation for a diverging lens, all right? So if we've got our principal axis right there, light rays coming in from the sun, right? They hit the diverging lens, and what we're going to see is these should spread out. Now, again, if you want to look at your 3 rules, they somewhat apply to the infinity piece. The middle one, guess what? It's going to go straight on through. Perfect, just like we always talk about. That should be one of the first ones you draw, is right through the middle, and just let that thing keep on trucking, okay? Now, these other 2, they're going to bend, all right? The reason they're going to bend is because they're hitting the angled part of the concave lens, all right? So we have to figure out, how are they going to bend? Well, if this was a convex, we knew that there would be an X behind it somewhere, right? Because the X is in the back of the word convex, okay? But because these are a concave, smashed in and caved in, what that means is we're going to use our front one right here. So what do? We start to draw off of this, okay? So what it means is we're going to take this dashed line and draw it down to our front focal point. That becomes the angle that we should see this light diverge from. So what ends up happening? Boom, it goes out and away, all right? Now, granted, in this case here, what you see is this top one, yes, it's not real ideal in that it's going out the top of the lens. I get that, okay? We would just have to have a larger lens or something along those lines in order to accommodate that. But hopefully you get the idea. You get one going up and away, one going down and away, and one straight through the middle, okay? If we change the focal point, okay, so our middle one is still going right through the middle, right? But now the difference is that one, right? Notice how by moving that focal point back a little bit, not only do we increase the distance that we have to draw these dashed lines, but check out the angle of it. The angle is a lot less dramatic. It's a lot flatter, right? So then we're able to say, okay, that one's still going to diverge, but it's not going to diverge as wide of a spread as what we had before. Okay. And then the last one for us here. All right. We want to find the focal point of this one. All right. So what we see is we give you those lines. So now, in order to find the focal point of this one, what we would have to say is these lines came from somewhere, right? They bent from some focal point. The way that we would find that focal point is instead of extending them out to the right side of the screen, now we want to see, all right, where does this tail, where did that emanate from? So that should have came from somewhere back in that direction, right? So we start drawing it backwards, right? So all we do is we extend that line, extend it, extend it, extend it. Where did it hit the principal axis? Boom, right there. We find our second line, boom, where did it hit its principal axis? Perfect. We could even, if we really wanted to, take this and draw that back there too. You know what I mean? Because really, that's the direction that it is also coming from. Okay. Now, is an image actually going to focus here? No, not going to focus there, right? But that's the focal point that we use. That becomes the focus area of this actual lens if we were to talk about it having a little bit of reflective properties to it. Okay. So now, the tricky part. All right. And to be fair, I don't know how much other than the assignment today, which I'm not going to look at incredibly thoroughly. I just want you to get the gist of how to draw these. Okay. So the way that we draw these is if we have an actual image. So I drew Brian on. All right. So we're going to start with our rules. Okay. We need at least two of these. The one I like is the blue one. I'm always going to have one straight smack through the middle. All right. That's the best one out there because that's the easiest one. It just continues on forever. All right. The first and the third one, now with a concave mirror or a concave lens like this is, they get a little tougher. I'm not going to lie. They get a lot tougher. Okay. So parallel first. All right. Ready? Here we go. All right. So there goes the red. Parallel in. Hits the middle. Right. Now, here's the weird part, okay? If we were doing a convex, this thing would want to go right down to there, right? So that becomes the challenge. Because it's a concave mirror, this one doesn't actually want to go there. It wants to go where? Yeah, you're right. It wants to go up and away. So how do we get this thing to go up and away? Well, like the previous ones, what we saw was this line had to come from somewhere. The place it came from, that focal point, right? That becomes the direction that this thing is going to now travel once it gets out of here, right? Now, does that mean that it actually forms an image here? No, that just becomes a place where our curvature of the lens is going to cause this light ray to diverge. So we see it get out that way, all right? That's rule number one. Now, big difference here, right? This thing is using the front one with that parallel. Again, subtle thing, remember that this thing's going to spread out. We have to have it spread out some way, somehow, some shape, some form, right? So because it has to spread out, this one cannot use this back one because that would cause an X on the back side, which is not what we want, okay? Second one, here we go. All right, through the middle of the lens. So there we go. So that thing starts to shoot straight through, right? Now, as it hits the middle of the lens, guess what? Boom. It's just going to keep on going, right? Now, the nice thing is that you're seeing on the back side back here that this thing is starting to diverge. It's starting to spread out. That's absolutely what we want to see, all right? Now, something also to be aware of. Look at this, right? We've got a little bit of a point here where we're getting some crossing, okay? So what that means is that we're actually could get a reflected image, so to speak. All right. Now it's not a real image for us. It's actually what we call a virtual image. But it still could be it's going to be something that we're going to identify. All right. Third one, through the focal point. Now this one's really tough. All right. This is the one that I would be okay if you said, you know what, this is weird. I don't get this one. all right? What we want to do is we want to go through the focal point, right? But here's the issue we have if we go through that focal point. Notice that line doesn't bend. It hits the lens and doesn't move. The reason why this one works the way that it does is because its angle in equals its angle out. Its angle of incident equals its angle of refraction because it's hitting at a perfectly straight spot for it, so to speak. All right. This one is higher. It actually should bend for us. So that's not going to be correct for us. All right. Meaning that it can't extend all the way through. All right. But what we can do is we can get it to stop. Right. So if we get it to stop there, so that's the same line. But now what I did was I stopped it at this point here. All right. Now that's through the back focal point. Now what I have to do is I have to draw it parallel. Right. So it goes parallel out. Notice I've got the three lines that we need for our diverging lens. Right. I got one going up, I got one going down, and I got one going through the middle, just like when we had that light at infinity. All right. Now, here's a subtle thing to be aware of. All right. This is not only going to go parallel that way, but it's also going to form a parallel backwards. All right. Now, notice something here. Look at this. That spot there becomes incredibly important for us, right? So then we ask the question, so what all these lines mean? Well, these lines are going to be all spread out for us. This line here, this focal point right here, is going to be a spot where we're able to produce a miniature version of Brian. Virtually, so to speak, right? Meaning that we're going to get some reflection that's going to come back there. That's going to be a place where now we start to see that this object can be formed, okay? So just to recap, first one went in, and then it went out based on the focal point right back here, right? The second rule, the blue rule, right? Straight through. At that point in time, if you're feeling all right and you're feeling like, you know what, I don't want to draw the third one, don't. Because right there, I've got the red and I've got the blue. They're going to connect and show where my Brian is going to be, right? The third rule, like I said, the trickiest one on this one, okay? That's going to shoot towards that focal point on the back. And then once it hits the mirror, it's going to go parallel forward. And also we're going to have this kind of reflective property going backwards, all right? Where those two supposed lines would meet, along with the one that shoots straight through the middle, that becomes our spot where we're going to have a Brian, so to speak. Okay? All right, let me try out how to do some of the concave ones with you on here. And then what we'll do is I'll also show you how to do I'll show you how to do the convex or concave on here. Okay? So again, worksheet here, I go to edit on the bottom, it pulls out the specific drawing. Even for the bottom ones down here, I just select it with my mouse or with my pointer, and I can edit that one as well. Okay, so I'm going to edit the top one. I'll show you how to do this. All right, so here we go. All right, let me get into an arrow tool here. So I select my line, I select my arrow, I click as close to the top of this as I can. You know what? I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to draw a rule tool first. Why? Man, that's the easy one. Look at that thing. Boom, all the way out to the far end of the screen, right? So for me, that's the first one I want to see. Okay. Now, rule number one. I know that's rule number two, right? Rule number one. Here we go. I'm going to go parallel. All right. Boom. Okay. Now, remember, this thing, if it was a convex mirror, we'd go right smack through there, and we'd see that this thing would meet up somewhere over here, right? But because it's a concave, this thing's got to go up and away. It has to go and diverge instead of converge. So the question then becomes, all right, where is it going to do this? I'm going to switch to a line. I'm going to switch to a dash. And I'm going to switch my color. Yeah, let's go red. All right. Oh, no, it did that, didn't it? Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. I got you. I got you. I got you. Here. All right. Line. Sorry. Line. Start here. Go right up to there. All right. I'm going to go back over here, kick my arrow tool, and basically say, all right, this thing should continue on as such. Okay. So that becomes our line for us. Now notice something funky. Check this out right there. We got a point where it's meeting. That's the point. That's an important point for us because that's where those are going to cross. All right. So next one. All right. And actually, let me fix this first. Okay. Click off of there. I'm going to click that one. I don't want an arrow. I want a line. I want a dash. And I want red. Oh, look at that gorgeousness. Woo, that looks good, folks. All right. Now, last arrow. All right. Here we go. Come on, give me that arrow. All right. So now in this one, I know I want to go to here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it to there. But I'm going to have to make some modifications afterwards. All right. The modifications are going to be, I know that once it hits this spot here, this thing's going straight out like that. Beautiful. Right? I also know that there's going to be a line coming back this way. Right? So then what I can do is I can select that arrow there and delete it. Right? Now I know that one going backwards is a little bit high, but whatever. It's okay right now. All right? And then I can redraw this to show what it actually should be. Okay? So if I go back, select that arrow. I don't want it to be an arrow. I want it to be a dash. I want it to be, I want it to be red. Look at that. Look at that, folks. Look at how pretty that is right there. Okay? Last thing I want to do, I'm going to add a little baby arrow there. All right? I just go to my shape tool, and I'm just going to add a nice teeny tiny arrow. Move it over a little bit. Make sure it lines up reasonably close. And look at that. That drawing is absolutely perfect. Well, whoa, sorry. It's pretty good. All right? But the key pieces of information that I want you to be able to do. All right? If you can draw the arrow, phenomenal. All right? If you can draw these dash lines coming backwards, awesome. All right? I want to see this thing diverge. I want to see it from that point, just spread out and go. Remember, you're going to have one going up high, one going down low, one going right down kind of the middle of that path. All right? Let me know if you got questions. Let me know if you got concerns on stuff. If we need to, I can do some office hours tomorrow prior to school for those of you who are still struggling a little bit. Otherwise, zip me an email. Let me know what's going on, and we'll talk, okay? All right. Take care of yourselves. Hope you're doing well. Miss the heck out of you folks. Would love to see you again. Although sounds like that might not be an option for us, at least at this point in time. So, all right. Take care. We'll see you soon, hopefully. All right. Bye.